as we go to our guest line and bring on the Hall of Fame head coach, now current analyst with the ACC Network, Jim Boeheim. I've been seeing you pop up a lot on my TV. You had the Clemson-Georgia Tech 3 overtime game the other night. How are you enjoying the gig?
It was a great game to have, but I didn't know I was calling into a music show. Paulie's really gone to the extreme again. He's off the although he does make a lot of sense when he talks about being patient and making sure you give people a chance over time. It's fun doing games. I do one a week, so it's good. I don't know if I could do two every week, but one is good. And we had a great game. Georgia Tech's really improved. It's amazing how they've improved from when they were here. They couldn't make a shot, and now they really make shots, and they play really well together. They just beat Louisville and Clemson on the road. So it was really fun to watch that. But, it's been crazy. We go to some restaurants. I even found a restaurant in Clemson.
Is that
crazy. Right? Yeah. Irwin, what's his name? Rick Irwin Steakhouse, really good. And then I went to a cheeseburger place, Max Diner there, 70 years. And the owner is 65, and he's been working there since he was 10.
Wow.
So he's been there 55 years. There's 12 stools that are, I think, the original stools when they opened 70 years ago.
That's cool.
It's a cool place. He had good memories of Joe Girard coming in and of a bunch of other people over the years that have gone to this little diner place. But, yeah, Wes Durham and I are finding a good restaurant in every city. Some really good ones in some of the cities down there. Poole's Diner in Raleigh is an incredible place, and the guy told me to go there, and I thought I was going to a diner, but it's not. It's a gourmet restaurant. But, it's been fun doing that. But, listening to some radio when I'm driving around here, coaches take over a program and they get a contract, whether it's 4 years, 5 years, whatever it is. And you have to allow coaches to grow into the job. Just remember, they called for Dean Smith's firing at North Carolina and Mike Krzyzewski's firing at Duke after 2 or 3 years.
That's right.
Yeah. And that turned out pretty good for him. So you give a coach an opportunity. You give him his time. And the one thing that I think Donna wrote a great column today, this is about money. We had some money to spend. Adrian Autry spent it in a good way. He got some pretty good players, but not quite good enough for this level. And so, the SEC, it's simple. They spent $6 or $7 million. This is minimum from what I can gather, talking to coaches, talking to people around the country on their teams. And, the ACC probably spent an average of $2 million, except for Louisville and Duke. And, who's in the top 2 teams in the league?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they are. It's about money. You spend the money. I think Syracuse realizes that now. I don't think that we realized it soon enough. I know that I talked to the Clemson coach a long time. He was fortunate. He had 4 guys coming back, so he only had to get a couple guys in the transfer portal, and they got a good team without spending a lot of money. But they lose those 4 guys this year. They'll have to be in the transfer portal. They'll have to have money. I think Syracuse is in a pretty good position. You never know exactly who's coming back, but I think there's 3 or 4 guys that will come back, should come back, that are pretty good players. I think they have 3 or 4, I think they got 2 really good freshmen, 2 other guys that are pretty good. And you put those 8 guys together and you get a couple good players in the transfer portal. And that's going to be expensive. You need to get a couple really good players in the transfer portal. They've been working on that. They've been thinking about that. But in a lot of these cases, especially transfer portal, it comes down to money. When you recruit a freshman, it's not always about the money. Sometimes it's just about relationships, and you can get a kid and figure it out. But we have to, if 3 or 4 guys want to come back, we need to keep them, and then we need to get at least a couple guys in the transfer portal. And I think in 1 year you can transfer your home program. It's not like in the old days, if you were doing bad in your second year in coaching and you had to get all freshmen again and start over, you'd need another 2 or 3 years before you could see anything.
When you look at NIL, Coach, have you ever thought back on your teams that did really well? Were those teams that Syracuse could have afforded back then in NIL? Could you have afforded Sherman Douglas, Derek Coleman, and Ronnie Cycli at the same time?
Sherman Douglas we could have, because nobody recruited him. But that was an exception even then. But Derek Coleman and Ronnie Cycli, no. I mean, we would have had to come up with the money. And that's the name of the game. It's simple. I think that Syracuse, we were involved with good players last year that got more money elsewhere. I think this staff is going to be involved with good players. I think they can be involved. They're good recruiters. You have to still recruit, talk to kids, talk to families, get them interested. You still have to do that, but at the end of the day, you have the money or you don't. And you can turn it around in a year. You can be bad for 2 years and then turn it around. On the other hand, Miami was good with money until they weren't good with money. They spent money and they won for 2 years. And in the last 2 years, they spent money, good money, and lost. And the coach left. So Florida football did really well 1 year with the money, and this year they won 3 games. So it's not all money, but obviously the teams that spent the most last year in football were Ohio State and what was the other team that made it to the finals?
Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Well, and Notre Dame spent a bunch of money. So those are 2 of the highest spending teams, and they got to the last 2 games. I think our football coach did an amazing job. He spent some money, but not that kind of money, and got to 10 wins. I think he's a tremendous coach, and he used the money wisely. But next year will be hard because of the schedule. I don't think I've ever seen a tougher football schedule in my short period here in Syracuse. But I got a lot of faith in him, and I think he'll do a great job. But I mean, it's a brutal schedule. I mean, I don't think anybody is playing that kind of schedule. When you look at Tennessee on the road and Notre Dame on the road and Clemson on the road, I mean, it's crazy. And SMU, I mean.
Yeah, 4 teams in the playoff.
Yeah.
4 teams went to the playoff.
Yeah, that's really hard. But I think he'll do a good job. But as far as basketball goes, I think they've got a good start. I think Melo's son's a really good player. White is a good player. I think they'll get some guys back, and they're going to get a couple good players in the transfer portal, and things can turn quickly. But the bottom line is you wait and you're patient. We've never really fired coaches with multiple years left on their contract here. I don't foresee that happening. I don't think it should happen, because you can have a Mike Krzyzewski turnaround. Adrian Autry knows what he's doing. He's a good basketball coach. He's a good recruiter. They just came up short. The players they recruited looked on paper to be pretty good, leading scorers in their conferences. They just haven't played quite as well as, we would have liked. But hopefully they can finish the year strong, get in the recruiting area, and change things around for next year. And I think they will. And I think, above all else, this is no time to start running polls about firing a coach or making changes. Is absolutely the worst time to do something like that. It makes no sense.
You talk about NIL being such an important factor, and obviously it is. Does it concern you that it is so important? And do you think that Syracuse can step up and deliver in the NIL space the way that they're going to need to compete like that? Because as you said, Fran Brown in football, they definitely spent more, and there's only so much money in this community to go around. Does that concern you?
No, there's enough money. There's more than enough money. It's not even a question. If the judge passes this law, this case in front of her, which I think everybody thinks she will, we would have $20 million, and we will have the $20 million to spend. Okay. We will do that, and I think most schools will. There might be a few that can't, but most schools that want to compete will. There's some with collectives that will spend more, and you have to live with that. But you can still get enough with the $20 million coming, obviously mostly to football and basketball. But there'll still be a lot of lawsuits, but hopefully we'll get through that someday, and this is where we'll get. It's still a ways off to get to that point, but there's no doubt in my mind that Syracuse wants to compete at that level, and will spend that money. And, again, I mean, not to be negative here, I'm trying to be positive, but a few years ago, I remember a couple callers saying, I think Pat probably was one, saying, well, Syracuse should spend more money, right? Remember those calls?
Sure.
Well, they now can contribute
right
to NIL, and none of them are. So I guess they really didn't mean that they were going to support the program, because they have the opportunity now to give as much money we can have as much money as anybody in the country, right?
Right. And I think
Ohio State's fans raised $20 million for football this year.
I'm reading our chat right now, and people are misunderstanding what you're saying. Next year, there will be money allotted out of the university's funds that they can spend. That wasn't there this year.
That's right. It was up to the fans and donors this year, and Ohio State's donors raised $20 million for football. Okay? That's what Georgia and Clemson and those football programs did, between 10 and 15 million. Florida State between 10 and 15 million. So their fans and their donors raised that money. We weren't able to do that with our fans and donors. So next year, it's now into the school if this lawsuit is approved, and the school will be able to go to $20 million for the athletic department. So we should be clear on that, I guess, okay?
Yeah. One common response that we will get to that, Coach, is, well, why would I contribute to this product? And how do I know?
A good one.
Right, and they'll say, how do I?
A good one.
And they'll say, how do I know? Yeah, go ahead.
How did Ohio State's fans know? How did Clemson's fans know? How did Texas's fans know? How did Mississippi? Mississippi has never been good in basketball, right? Never, or years, right?
Yeah, now all of a sudden they're in the top 25.
Why are they?
Yeah, right, because they've got money and they're spending money.
Where'd the money come from?
Right.
Where did it come from?
Donors.
You answer.
Yeah, right.
Donors.
Yeah.
So those people that are saying why contribute to this product are not fans, because you're contributing to be like Mississippi. Has Mississippi State been good in basketball in a long time?
No.
Are they now?
Yes.
Why?
Because people are contributing.
That's exactly right. So I'm not trying to get mad at the fans. I never have. Our fans are great. But if you're talking about what you could have done, you could have donated to NIL. We could have had that money. It didn't happen. So now what has to happen is the university has to raise that money and can pay it out as this lawsuit goes through. If for some reason this lawsuit doesn't go through, then it's still back on donors to pay the student athletes. That's just the way it is. I mean, I don't like it. Nobody likes it. But don't tell me we don't want to pay for this product, because Florida State paid $15 million to lose last year. Guess what? They're paying $15 million again this year to try to win. Okay? That's what they do if you want to win. This is not complex. It's not something you need to debate about. I mean, personally, if fans don't want to give, I get that. That's fine. Donors don't want to give. That's fine.
Another common question we get is, how do we know Coach Red is the right guy? So, how would you respond to that?
You have to give him the money, see if he can he'll get the players, and then if he can't win with that, then he's not the right guy. Okay? But you can't leave him out there with not good enough players. Listen, coaches always ask me how you succeed, how you coach for a long time. You get good players. You're not out coaching a lot of people in this world. These coaches are good in these programs. You have to have players. If you get good players and you can't win, that's different. That's when you have to make coaching changes. No doubt about it. And people will say, well, the coach has to recruit the players. That's the old way. Now it's money is what recruits the players. So it's just a different world today, and we all have to adjust to it. And moving forward, I'm going to make this very clear. The university should be able to pay that money out. They're still going to have to raise the money because we break even at the end of the year, as I'm sure you know, Steve. We basketball pays for all the other sports, so the athletic department breaks even, actually loses money. We have to fundraise to break even. But with another $20 million needed, then there's still fundraising that has to go on, and I believe the university is committed to raise that money. But I mean, I don't want to be mad at the fans. I'm just telling you what is happening around the country. Donors have stepped up at these other schools. Our donors have never been big donors in terms of like a Texas or Clemson, those schools. They're more oriented toward athletics. A lot of our big donors give to the school, to academics, and that's just the way it is. Boston College is in a similar boat. Pittsburgh, Virginia Tech I talked to their coach. They had very little money for NIL this year. So, we're all in the same boat, and there's just a few of schools that have decided, and, the schools I really look at that are surprising are the Mississippi State, which have never been good in basketball, and they haven't been good in football, and they were good in both this year, right?
Yeah.
And it's because they spent money. Other schools have spent money, and they haven't. It hasn't worked out.
Yeah, look at Miami, right?
Yeah, Miami, Florida State.
Right.
They've spent money, it didn't work out. And there's other schools. Arkansas, John spent a lot of money. They're starting to win a little bit now, but they're in the bottom of the SEC. But it's no surprise to me that the SEC has all these good teams in football and basketball. They've spent the most money. And if you're a kid and a family and you don't have a lot of money and somebody's giving you $700,000 or $800,000 to play basketball and you're a pretty good player, maybe not great, but pretty good, you're going to take that money. Yeah. I don't blame any kid for doing that. They should. But so you have to step up, and hopefully the ACC will. The ACC has never been at this level in all my years of watching college basketball, and I don't want to go back that far, but it's a long way. The ACC has been the best league in the country. They can argue about things, but even the last few years where we've been down, we've won the most tournament games, most Sweet 16 teams, most Final Four teams, and national championships. So, we've still been there. People were complaining about us, and in the last 10 years I coached, we went to the Final Four twice and the Sweet 16 a couple times. So it's not like, we can't do it. We can do it. But right now it's about spending money. We have to spend money.
All right, Coach, one last one for you. I just want to dispel a myth. Have you ever told me what to say on the radio?
That is a joke. Somebody's joking.
We get that a lot, Coach. You'd be surprised. We get a lot that you tell us what to say. Yes.
Oh my goodness, that is so fun. That's like I got Brent Axe fired too. I heard that one too. I didn't even know he was going to get fired. So I mean, come on,
And your Super Bowl pick, if you could.
I get credit for things that never happened a lot, but that's okay. Super Bowl is, I'll tell you what, I don't think you can beat that guy in Kansas City. I'm just going to tell you right now. They got a great coach. They got a great defensive coach. They got some players, but they got the one guy. And I was so happy to see Josh Allen get the MVP. I thought he deserved it this year. But the real MVP in the league until they beat him is Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. He always finds a way.
Games. He finds some way. And they keep coming up with throwing these statistics up there. Well, this guy passed for this and this. Winning. That's what the MVP is. Who wins the most games and who wins the most championships? That's who the MVP is in my mind in any league. And that guy out there, I mean, I think Philly can beat him, but they may even be better on paper.
Yeah.
But until somebody beats that guy, he has a way to win. If he throws it underhand, he'll throw it underhand. If he has to run, he'll run. If he's left-handed or right-handed or whatever it is, and that's to me what sports is about. I love that. You see those guys that they find a way to win games somehow. And as a coach, I mean, you appreciate talent, but you really love to see guys that find ways to win games. Figure it out. Magic Johnson did it. I mean, he was a great player too, but he found a way to win games. Larry Bird did it. All the great players, they find a way to win games. And, Kobe did it. Jordan did it. And statistics are important, but sometimes it's just finding a way to win, and that's what, you really try to do in this world.
I wish he would just do it in the NFC so my Bills could go to a Super Bowl. That would be nice. But
I'm a big Bills fan.
Yeah.
I love to see him win. I love Josh Allen. I think he's a great kid, a great player. I love the coach up there. I'm just pulling for him really hard. But that guy is
finds a way.
He finds a way, and that's what I mean as a fan of every sport that's ever played. I mean, I just love to see a guy that somehow finds a way to get out there and wins games. I just have always admired that, and it's to me what sports is about. It's just being able to get through. And I've had the chance to coach all those players, and some guys just, they find a way to win games. And, Jordan was, to me, the best at that. And Kobe was right there because he had an edge to him that just would never stop. As a player, Jerry McNamara had that. He wasn't that talented a player like those guys, but he would just, if he needed somebody to make a shot, you think back in his career, he made it. He made the shot somehow. Yeah. And those are guys you appreciate, watching those guys over the years. But yeah, Paulie, I haven't told Paulie what to do in the 30 years that I've worked with him, and I'm never really quite sure what he's going to say anyway.
I've never had a personal conversation with you.
But I think he's right, and the little bit of radio I hear is let's give them a chance. Let's give Coach Autry a chance. It doesn't look good. Nobody thinks it looks good, but we just got to be able to spend some money and make some good choices. And I think this thing can completely turn around in 1 year, and that's the difference in the game today. I mean, you can turn it around, and we're all in the same boat except for Duke in this league. They can get the best player. They're going to get the best players, but everybody else has kind of developed a couple guys, and then they've got to get somebody in the portal that can help their team. That's the way college sports is right now.
Well said, Coach, as always. You've been so gracious with your time. Thanks so much for coming on. Keep doing your thing on TV. We love watching you, and hopefully we'll chat again soon.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Bye.
All right, Jim Boeheim joining us here on the show. With that, we'll hit a timeout, Paul.
We're going to double up on the break, Utica, so I hope you're listening.
All right, Audible, Omaha, doubling up on the break. We'll be back after this on ESPN.